in the bank, I have the privilege of looking after clients. These are very personal things, you know.
When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you look at self-actualization.
So I grew up listening to certain phrases, and one of them was that money does not grow on trees.
As an African traditional society, we don't like to talk about legacy.
Besides monetary gain, people need to look around safety as well. Are you dealing with the right people?
You know, we can't just, think about the picture that we would like to see and then start working towards it without factoring in the need to protect whatever it is that we're building along the journey.
People need to look around safety as well. Safety. Are you dealing with the right people? Because, and I know we're going to also touch on insurance and protecting that whatever you are making, but from an investment standpoint, it is important because it's something that we've seen happening in Uganda. People are talking about invest in a chicken project that you're not really touching on, or you can't
and get 10%
exactly. It's only because there is that urge to get that quick return, but you're not considering whether this is actually safe. Because if that money is not there anymore, you're not going to have anything to pass on. So I think safety is important. Deal with the right people, ask the right questions, and hold those people accountable, because it is actually your money. It is your legacy on the line here. So yeah, ask the right questions, keep it within what we call regulated environment, make sure it is safe.
Chad has talked about purpose, talked about more than just the monetary gain you get from, building your legacy, but talked about purpose, doing it with purpose and, doing something that delivers value. Salima has talked about safety, ensuring that there is safety in these investments that you're doing. I want to come across to Bernice to tell us from your experience about customers that you have seen do this correctly. Because we've talked about the mistakes that we've seen customers make, but I'm sure that there are people out there that are doing it right and that you see are well on their way. Might not be there, but that are well on their way to getting to what their perfect looks like. If you can share some experiences with us.
Okay, so here you're saying planning their legacy correctly.
Yes.
Okay. From my experience, and I have the privilege of looking after clients in the bank, a portfolio of clients and their families. So as you work with them, you get to hear their plans for their children and just their concerns, their worries, plans for their business, and it goes into very deep conversations, meet them in their homes, because these are very personal things, where you need to pause, like I said earlier, and just plan. There is a couple, and the husband passed on when I had started moving with them. And the husband passed away, I think it was around COVID, but his wife is still surviving, managing business, and has her children. But what the man did, of course he had planned for their education, they had studied abroad and things like that. We never got to talk about it, but my sense is he must have taken up also a life cover, because they're Asian British. So you see, in our side of the world, insurance is brought to you and sold to you and you're convinced about it. In other markets, people, I think you're trained, yes, they go to the insurance company instead. They go because they're trained, you need it. You know that an event can happen to you at any one point. I can drop down, I can die. So for them, having a life insurance, they know about it, they're exposed to it. So what he did for him, everything he used to do with the wife, so I'm now talking about a couple, used to do with the wife, so accounts were in joint names, so everything was seamless. She was in the background, he was heading the business, yes. But for him, that was a strategy that worked for him. Let's work together. He was the head, I think she was somewhere in finance. But in talking, in sharing, so they had a joint dream of what they wanted for their children, for themselves. So when it even came for time for the assets or accounts and accessing accounts, it was easy because things were in joint names. She was involved, so that worked for him. Remaining close to their children and just understanding what their dreams are and making sure you help the children achieve those dreams. So these children studied out of Uganda, they studied in the UK, so there was a plan for that. And because they are exposed in that side of the world, yes, I'm sure there's an education policy. You know, they know that you can die at any one point, or I can be knocked down. So for them, it was easy. So you see, they have particular plans. No, this money is going out, and then they opened an account offshore for that particular purpose. So remember what we are saying about you need to do things today now to achieve that picture. So he passed on when the second child was about to finish university. Then completed, because remember there were funds. Even after the wife came, she was just picking from where the funds were put and invested and paid for the fees. And the child finished, and they are now going into masters, and they've joined the company. So I think for them what worked is talking. You have a partner who you can talk to and plan. But very cognizant of the fact, Mercy, that it's not the same for everyone. Not everyone sits and I like the way we're all nodding with energy. It's not obvious that people sit and talk with their spouses and plan, and it isn't. It isn't at all. So, but it's still important, even as you plan as an individual, to be clear on where you want to go. Because you see, as wealth managers or relationship managers, what we're trying to help the customer, or let me speak to wealth management, because really wealth management is the holistic picture to say, where are you today financially, where do you want to be tomorrow, and how can we help you get there? So it's first understanding the customer. And they'll tell you different dreams, things they want to do, things they want to achieve. Ours is to enable that to happen for them. So for those that talk about it, then it's easier, you do things. So I think the first thing is knowing what you want. But I've also had a client or two where you find the son is working with him in the company, but all this time he's not in any document. So he's always working. So when we come talking about generational wealth, you know, we go and have conversations. What do you have in the bank? And you go and explain. Succession planning. And then it's like, all this time, you know, I work with my son, but I've never included him in anything. Meaning if something happened to him, yes. So I think for me the big one, Mercy, is one, taking time to pause and doing things deliberately. Insurance is good, but the thing is, I think if people were clear about, and I think people are, but maybe we need to approach it the other way around. What are your needs right now? Bernice, I can, in the event that I die, what will happen to my children? How will they continue studying? Those are real things that we see every day. Even with our clients, we lose clients while looking after them. So these are real things. So if we understood what the need is, then you say, okay, of all these solutions, what can help me do that? And there are wonderful products out there, from investment, from insurance, generally in the market, you know. But if someone can articulate that need, then we pick out and say, you know what, this is what is going to solve this. Yeah, but I think where we need to start, all of us, is what are we solving? What's the objective? Why should I pick out insurance? What am I solving when I pick out an insurance policy, an investment? So if we can answer the why, you know, and you talked about purpose, the why. They keep telling us, find your why, and it sounds cliche, but I think it is true. Even my children, my little children, what have I done for them? I have to think about it. Sometimes we fear, no, I'm around. You know, I think, I'll live for 100 years, I'm still okay. No, but God forbid if something happened to me, you know, what will happen, you know? Yeah, so those are the scenarios I've seen, Mercy. Me, it still boils down to a client being clear what they want, and then they did it. It's in the doing. You see, I can talk about all these plans and look good amongst my friends. Yeah, we're planning to put up a house, we are, you know. But then they meet me 1 year down the line, and I haven't done the things. So it's in the doing. Execute, execute, execute. I think we need to execute. You need to take that step. You need to talk to that insurance expert. I need to walk and talk to someone. I need someone to listen to me and understand where I am. And then we pick and say, okay, this can do, solve need. This can do. I keep saying, for me, investments, solutions, insurance, they're just vehicles to take me to destination. My child studying and not being interrupted if I... Same with health. Why we have health insurance also, because it saves me that burden and expense. Yeah, pay the premium, it's there, then it doesn't interrupt my financial flows and things like that. But the bottom line, Mercy, is understanding what are we solving, and it's different from person to person.
I love where this discussion is going, because we're saying we see the customer, we see them. Yeah. We know that you bank with us, okay, but we also recognize that there's more to you than just this transactional account. And we're saying we would like that opportunity to get to know what your dream is and what your need is. And then based on that, with the expertise in the room, we want to now get to that point where we say, okay, this is what you would like to do. This is what you feel could threaten what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And this is how we would like to help you, to cushion you, so that you never get to the point where you've got to give up on your dream because you didn't have the right tools to see you to that point. Dogo shared with us a powerful story earlier about, you know, a customer in his first role. And I'd like to come back to you. One, to tell us how that story unfolded, because I think it must have unfolded in a very interesting way for the lady that you spoke about. But then also to go on from there, because one of the things we've said around the table is that we've got to protect whatever it is that we're building. And yet in our country, unlike abroad, as she shared, it's not something that people are embracing fully. So if you could just talk us through that.
Yeah, thanks, Mercy. I think for me, and I think all my colleagues have spoken about it very wonderfully, the issue about building generational wealth. It's very important to know that as you build, you need to actually protect. And just going back to that story, I mean, this is a driver who you may say had limited exposure to the financial knowledge that some of the corporate and many other people in the country do have. So the story, and I think that segment whereby when I was there at that particular company, we paid, I think it was 300 million that the person had actually bought the product. And what they did was quite special because part of that money was given to her in stipends, like monthly stipend, as if they're paying salary to her. The second, they also gave her some startup money. And the third, they got a portion of that money and actually invested it. So you can imagine they didn't give her 300 million at once, but they gave her a plan, a financial plan. Because like I told you, she was just a normal housewife. So if you give her 300 million, I can imagine, it's not to say that she cannot manage, but the planning is very important. So her children went to school. She had something to do, at least to get some money. And there was some investment that was actually growing as she's waiting for her family to mature. But just to talk about family, and I think it is the heartbeat of our existence. You know, we can say whatever we want to say, but each one of us here who have children, we think about them. You know, you think about school fees. When the school fees period comes in, you're concerned. You're concerned about your child's, you know, protection and, you know, safety. You're also concerned about your extended family. And I think for me, with my small experience in this space, I think it is very imperative for each one of us. Like you said, you start with the end in mind. Where do you want your children to be in the next 20 years, 10 years? Where do you want them to actually be in terms of employment, in terms of schooling? And we have all the tools at our disposal actually to do that. So the idea is to plan and plan effectively, is to engage and have these conversations openly, is to find and plug where there is a gap by providing a solution from the financial institutions. And I think the regulators in this market are very fair. Some of the products that are here are wonderful. So yeah, just to encourage Mercy, for me, maybe takeaways to say that they are available. These products, they do exist from a school. We've seen people who actually, when they have challenges of medical and they are doing, you know, fundraising. And we also know for a fact that the cost of living is actually going high. Your income is literally growing in a straight line. Or it may actually be going down. So you need to actually think about...
And its value.
In the event. In the event you have a medical emergency, what is your plan? In the event you have a challenge, maybe let's say paying your child's school fees, what was your plan? You get me? So I think this conversation is very timely and opening it up and saying how do we do it better for our people, I think is very important.
Absolutely. Guys, we are starting with the end in mind. This is, I think, the one thing that we've said consistently around the table, that we start with the end in mind. And then we build towards that with the right tools. I started off by saying I've got a team of experts around the table. And I'm glad because the discussion that we've just had is evidence of that. That we've been doing this for a long time. And we are more than willing and passionate about what we're doing. and ready and willing to extend that to our customers. So this has been a fantastic episode. It's been really great having you all here. Thank you for making the time. It's been an absolute honor. And we'll see you all on our next episode where we continue to unpack these different concepts that will come. For our listeners, for our viewers, just let us know what you would like to hear, and we'll be sure to address all that as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you.